So I'm going to help break down Senate Bill 199 and how it impacts you, whether you live in California, the US, or outside, in this impromptu version of T3. Okay, so I'm breaking the normal schedule and adding an extra video this week because I wanted to address the fact that Senate Bill 199 passed last night, which was September 30th, 2014 in California. And there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of misinformation floating around the internet. I really wanted to put this thing to bed with the definitive answers of how it's going to impact you, what the law really means, and what actually passed and how it got there. So let's start with the background. But before we get to that, let me tell you about my personal opinion, because I'm going to set that aside and just cover facts in this video. Personally, I think any law that erodes any form of the Second Amendment is a terrible idea. I think it's horrible. Personally, to me, I think that goes against what the Founding Fathers believed in, and that's my personal opinion. So keep in mind, throughout this, I'm going to set that opinion aside and stick with very neutral statements so you guys can understand what's going on. So going back to the beginning, Senator De Leon in California, who's a state senator, has been trying to pass a bill that restricted airsoft guns based on some very unfortunate police shootings of kids that were carrying airsoft guns in public, and it kind of stemmed from that, and it's been snowballing for the past few years. Now, in the past, De Leon had some political pull, but not a whole lot. But in the past few years, he's really moved up the ranks in California, and this year he stepped up to kind of a really big role in the Senate and has the power to get this thing pushed through. So here we are this year with the law. Now, up until just maybe a few weeks ago, the law was written to say every gun had to be brightly colored: pink, yellow, green, blue, electric colors, and that was it. So you were looking at essentially the near end of airsoft in California as we knew it. So going up to that point, things were looking bleak. The Airsoft Safety Federation, or Airsoft Safety Foundation, got together and they've been lobbying against this every year. Now keep in mind why airsoft was singled out, and they excluded paintball and they've excluded BB guns. So it only focuses on 6mm and 8mm guns. So BB guns are excluded. And they went after airsoft specifically because as an industry, we are the youngest industry. And not by player base, I mean youngest is we've been around the least amount of time. Therefore, in the political world, that means we have the least amount of money to fight this. Paintball has a pretty big lobbying, and they were actually able to get exempted because of their lobbying, unfortunately, for us, but that was kind of part of it, and that's the way it works. Politics equals money. That's an unfortunate fact of the United States politics, and I would dare say probably anywhere in the world. So this focused squarely on airsoft simply because we had the shallowest pocketbook. I mean, we really didn't have the money to fight this thing. So over the years, we have been fighting successfully. This year, we actually hired a lobbyist. And I say we, I wasn't part of the foundation. I'm on the outside. I don't even live in California. I did have an interest in this, obviously, but I didn't have the ability to vote against it because I didn't live in California. So looking at the way the law was written this year, and after the lobbyists did a lot of research and digging, it looked like this year was the year it was going to get passed, which is not a good thing. As it stood, with brightly colored guns, it would have put a lot of people out of business. I mean, a lot of them. And with the law enacting the way it was written in 2015, which is just a handful of months away, it would have been catastrophic to all the major retailers: Evic, GI, Airsplat, Airsoft Megastore. All of them would have been impacted heavily, I mean, to the point where they had to shut down. You couldn't react that quickly. And you're talking, these guys have massive buildings, long-term leases, tens or even hundreds of employees in some cases. It would have been catastrophic. So rather than face that and seeing that the truth was going to be, well, this is the year it was probably going to get through because of De Leon's power and because of those deals that happen behind closed doors that we just don't get to see. And you know, politics is politics. It stinks, but that's the way it works here in the US, and like I said, probably anywhere else too, are these backroom agreements and deals. So this year was the year that apparently some things happened. Again, this is kind of speculation part here, and it was going to stick. I mean, we were going to see this thing passed. So rather than fight a battle where we just didn't have the money to lobby against it, we just didn't have the funds as an industry, we went and made a compromise, or the industry did. Again, I keep saying we, I wasn't involved with this. And I think that it saved airsoft as a sport for the meantime, and I am hopefully for good. So rather than brightly colored guns, the law now states you need to keep the orange tip on the gun, but in addition to that, you must add some colorations elsewhere, and it's not as bad as it seems. So let me start with what it means if you have a pistol. So in addition to this orange tip here on the front, you also need to have a brightly colored trigger guard. So blue, pink, yellow, some bright color. You'll probably see orange. I just used blue because I had tape. And then have a 2 centimeter stripe on the pistol grip. So the good news is when you grab the pistol grip, it's covered. And when you have the finger on your trigger here, it's pretty much covered. I mean, yeah, there's nothing in here, so don't get mad at me putting the finger on the trigger. You're gonna see a little bit of blue. So that's what's gonna happen to pistols in California. Now remember, outside of California, guys, this is tape. And you know what that means? If it's tape, you just kind of pick at it. Guess what? There you go. Now for a rifle, and I'm gonna grab it from down here, you get this. So now pretend there's an orange tip on here. I've taken it off in my case, but you'll have this. Now if you look here, I've got 3 places with tape, and I didn't tape the trigger guard, so the trigger guard will have to be colored brightly. So this right here, this little piece, this little strip, will be blue, green, pink, yellow, whatever. And then it's pick 2 of the 3 you see here. So you can either have the grip and the mag taped up with a 2 centimeter strip on adhesive tape, just tape, that's all it is, or the stock and the grip, or the stock and the magazine. It's your choice of these 3. Personally, for me, if I'm gonna play in California, I ditch the stock and do the grip, because guess what? The grip's covered. And if you do the old mag grasp, guess what? You don't even see the darn thing. And I've seen a lot of guys do this with their mags anyway to denote training rounds, different weight BBs, things like that. So that's what you're looking at from the law. And again, in California, those are tape, so those will come right off. Now, if the trigger guard's painted, I will tell you this, you're probably gonna see a lot of distributors, companies like Jag, Precision, that distributes Echo One. You'll see ASG that's based in California, PTS, and a bunch of other companies, KWA, Crytac. Hopefully, they'll be including metal black trigger guards because it has to ship with it on. But for those of us who don't live in California, I hope they're going to include, if they decide to ship them all painted, let's say, they'll include a black guard, or they'll just have a outside of California compliant version that will be just like what we normally have and none of this, and they'll have an inside California compliant version that you'll only see sold in California. So that was the agreement, and how it happened was, again, the Airsoft Safety Foundation and the industry got together and realized this thing was going south. They had to make an unfortunate choice, but a choice to save this industry. And I see a lot of people talking about how they threw the industry under the bus, and you know, there's an argument behind all of that on both sides. Again, I'm not here for opinions, but I think given the option and given the information that they had, this was the best choice at the time. And again, I'm not supporting anything, I'm switching back to personal opinion here, that erodes the Second Amendment. I think this law is terrible. I think it will do nothing, personally, for safety of airsoft. So guys, I hope this helped you understand what's going on with Senate Bill 199, how it impacts you, and if you lived outside of California, pretty much doesn't. If it does, you live in California, it does, and remember, you have to keep this on here. It's just like having an unregistered firearm. It's a civil penalty up to $10,000. It's a lot of money, so don't get bold and peel the tape off. I mean, that's my little 2-cent lecture for those of you who live in California, and this applies to under or over 18. And the other good thing, and I want to mention this in parting, is the group that worked with that lobbyist was able to push this law from going into effect until January 1st of 2016. So the good news there is that we have a chance as an industry in California, the people there, to lobby next year, to fight this, to regroup, and they bought an extra year of time to try to repeal this law. And I think that's fantastic. That can happen. With this being an election year, there might be a shift and there might be a new friendly group of people in there. And after an election year, it's a lot easier to get laws flipped. Election year, people are looking for a win to try to get reelected. So that is the silver lining to this as well. They bought us an extra year, so the law doesn't kick in 2015, it kicks in 2016. So guys, let me know what you think about Senate Bill 199 or any of the previous versions that have evolved into this in the comments below. I mean, you guys know my opinion. I think it stinks, but given the opportunity and given what was presented to the industry, I think this is probably the best worst case scenario, if that makes sense to you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Let me know what you guys think about how everything was handled in Senate Bill 199, how the laws are going, and you think the Senate Bill 199 will have any impact at all in the form of safety, in the way it's written, or in any form, even with brightly colored guns, because you guys know real firearms are painted brightly as well. I'd love to hear your opinions down below. Just just go ahead and get in the fight in the comments right down there. So thanks a bunch, guys. And again, if you have any questions on 199, let me know, and I'm here to help anytime on Airsoftology tips and tricks.